Beyond this gross conception of form is another subtle conception of form, which is without formal shape and is unseen, unheard, and unmanifest. The living being has his form beyond its subtlety, otherwise, he could not have repeated births. Please repeat. Beyond this gross conception of form is another subtle conception of form, which is without formal shape and is unseen, unheard, and unmanifest. The living being has his form beyond this subtlety, otherwise he could not have repeated births. Purport by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. As the gross cosmic manifestation is conceived as the gigantic body of the Lord, so also there is the conception of his subtle form, which is simply realized without being seen, heard, or manifested. But in fact, all these gross or subtle conceptions of the body are in relation with the living beings. The living being has his spiritual form beyond this gross material or subtle psychic existence. The gross body and psychic functions cease to act as soon as living being leaves the visible gross body. In fact, we say that the living being has gone away because he is unseen and unheard. Even when the gross body is not acting, when the living being is in sound sleep, we know that he is within the body by his breathing. So, the living beings passing away from the body does not mean that there is no existence of the living soul. It is there. Otherwise, how can repeated births again and again? The conclusion is that the Lord is eternally existent. The conclusion is that the Lord is eternally existent in his transcendental form, which is neither gross nor subtle like that of the living being. His body is never to be compared to gross and subtle bodies of the living being. All such conceptions of God's body are imaginary. The living being has his eternal spiritual form, which is conditioned only by this material contamination. Om Ajnantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobisham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So the last time we covered verse 28, which is known as Paribhasha Sutra in Sanskrit, and in English we call it emperor verse or foundational verse. That verse is what is the main message of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. What is that? Ete chamsa kalapumsam Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. In the next verse, verse 29, the Paribhasha Sutra or the foundational verse means if there is any other verse in the rest of the Bhagavatam that seems to contradict with this verse, then you better check it twice, 3 times, 4 times, 6 times, and find an explanation how that verse works with this verse. So a foundational verse is the main thing. This building or for any building for that matter, if there is a problem up top, you can fix it. If there's a problem below that, you can fix it. If there's a problem inside the foundation, then the whole structure has to come off. You cannot fix it. The whole thing. In Canada, people lift the houses, but these are not traditional houses. People lift the houses in Canada and change the foundation and put the same house on a new foundation. But by the definition, foundations are not like that. Foundation is what something is built upon, and if the foundation is gone, everything is gone. Our life is like that. How our life is going to be is more or less based on our foundation. In most cases, whatever our foundation, that's what we go to become. Of course, there are always exceptions. If you come in touch with the pure devotee, such as Srila Prabhupada, your life could completely change. But for most cases, your foundation is what the whole life is dependent upon. So in the 29th verse, Janma Gohyam Bhagavato Ya Etat Prayavarto Narah is the Shruti Phala of the first 28 verses. It says that by simply reciting, transcendental birth and activities of the Lord, one gets relief from all miseries. So this verse is the same as Bhagavad Gita, I think 7:14. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvata tyaktva deham punarjanma neti mameti so Arjuna. That if somebody knows my appearance and disappearance and my karma, janma karma, he calls it his karma, but we don't call it Krishna's karma. We call it Krishna's Leela. What is the difference in the Leela and the karma? Karma carries a consequence. We are all subject to karma. Whatever we do, we carry a consequence. Whereas Krishna is not subjected to the karma bandhan. He is not bound by the law of karma. So his karma is for us his pastimes, his leelas, although he calls it karma. So karma means understanding Krishna's pastimes. Evam yovetti tattvata, whoever can understand them completely, tattvata, what will happen? Tyaktva deham punarjanma, naiti mameti swarjana. That person will not take birth again. So, same thing, similar matter is here. Janma guhyam bhagavato ya etat prayato nara. Simply by reciting the transcendental births and activities of the Lord, one gets freed from all miseries. In the verse 30, in a way, what started from first verse ended the chapter at verse 29. From 30 to 39, there is another matter that Sut Goswami is discussing. The material forms, gross and subtle form, both of the Lord, and living beings are actually imaginary. So, in this matter, the first verse is 30. Virat Rupa is material conception of the Lord's form. It is an imaginary conception. Etad rupam bhagavato hi anupasya chid atmana. Virat Rupa is material conception of the form. Meaning, the Lord is not bound by this material conception. Beyond this, there is, beyond the Virat Rupa, there is actually Krishna. In the next 31, the less intelligent impose material conceptions on the spirit. The examples were given in the verse, in the translation by Sut Goswami, that people think, the sky is cloudy. Is the sky cloudy? The sky is not cloudy. There is cloud between me and the sky. That doesn't make the sky cloudy. It just makes my vision that way. I am thinking, like they say, we want to do an expedition to the sun. We want to go to the sun and see what is at the sun. Say, yeah, really? But sun is so hot, it will burn you. Oh no, we will go at night. We will go to the sun at night when it is not burning hot. Is it really? Or we say that the sun has set. But has the sun really set? The sun has set for me. From where I am standing, from my conception, the sun has set for the day where I am. But as it sets in one place, it rises in another at the same time. So, somebody on the earth is, if you may, celebrate a sunset, and on the other side of the earth, somebody else is celebrating the sunrise. So, is it really the sun that is setting or rising, or it is just my material conception? So, that is the example used here. The less intelligent impose material conceptions on the spirit, because the material less intelligent don't understand anything other than material. They think or consider everything to be material. So, where is your soul? Can you show me? If you can't show me, then I don't have a praman of your soul. That is material buddhi. But the reply to that is, where is your brain? Can you show me? Then, my dear sir, maybe you don't have one. Because according to your logic, if I can't show you the soul, then the soul doesn't exist. Then if you can't show me your brain, then your brain doesn't exist. So that logic is no good. In the verse 33, the way to liberation, when a person experiences that he has nothing to do with gross and subtle forms, then he is liberated. Liberation begins at understanding that I am different than my gross body and my subtle body. What is my gross body? My gross body is the Pancha Mahabhuta, the fire, air, earth, sky, ether, all of this. Panch Mahabhuta is my body, and my subtle body is man, buddhi and ahankar, mind, intelligence and false ego. So the liberation of a living spirit begins when he realizes that these are 5 elements, gross elements, these are 3 subtle elements, and then there is me. I am not this and I am not this. I am not the body and I am not the subtle body. I am completely different than all of these things. That is spirit soul. And the 32nd verse that we are at right now, it talks about spiritual forms are beyond gross and subtle forms. Like Krishna is different than Virat Swarup. Virat Swarup is Krishna's material conception, but that is not Krishna, that is just his one Swarup. There is Krishna separate than that. So similarly, Atma is also separate than what you can see. A Virat Roop is something that everyone can see. But similarly, the body, gross body, everybody can see. But what we cannot see is the soul. So beyond the gross conception of the form is another subtle conception which has no formal shape, unseen, unheard, and unmanifest. Do we ever get to see somebody's mind, intelligence, and false ego? We see it, but we don't see it in a form that here is my mind, I can draw it, it's like this, and the intelligence, and here is the ego. There is ego, and then there is the false ego. The ego means ego means, in a way, my existence. This is me. Individual soul. Shrishti, Vyashti Atma. In Sanskrit, it is referred to as Vyashti Atma, individual soul. So I am supposed to have ego, that is my individuality as a person. I am individual. That is ego. False ego is I am thinking I am Indian, I am a man, I am a woman, I am white, I am black, because all of these identifications do not belong to me. That's why in order to become pure devotee, it is said, Sarvopadhi Vinirmukta. All of these identities are not my identities. I am the spirit soul. Is there a color to my spirit soul? Can my spirit soul be black or brown or white? No. Can my spirit soul belong to India or Canada or America or Europe? No. So all of these things, that labels that we put on ourselves, that is false ego. What is my real ego? My real ego is Jivara Swarupoy Krishna Nityadas. I am a servant of the Supreme. That is my real constitutional position. That ego is a good ego. Anything beyond that, all the other designations that we have given to ourselves, they don't actually belong to us. They may belong to the body, but I am not the body. So, it says, without formal shape, is unseen. It has no shape. My subtle body has no shape. My subtle body cannot be seen and is unheard. Can you hear from my subtle body? In a way, everything mostly coming out of my mouth is coming from the subtle body. But if this gross body wasn't there, would my subtle body be able to speak to you? So really is coming out of the gross body, although the gross body is controlled by the subtle body. So that subtle body is unseen, unheard, and unmanifest. In the next sentence of the translation. It says the living being has his form beyond his subtlety, otherwise he could not have repeated births. There is the living being. The gross body is dead. After one birth, the gross body is dead. The subtle body is unmanifest, unseen, unheard. Then what is taking the next birth? It is the soul that is taking the next birth. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, as the gross material, gross cosmic manifestation is conceived as a gigantic body of the Lord, so also there is conception of his subtle form, which is simply realized without being seen or heard or manifest. But in fact, all these gross or subtle conceptions of the body are in relation with the living being. Gross body is there. What is the explanation of this gross body? Well, it came from the Panch Mahabhuta and it will go back into Panch Mahabhuta. It came from the 5 elements and it will go back into the 5 elements. And my subtle body really has no existence. So what has existence? It is the soul. So every 7 years it is explained that our whole body, every cell of the body is changed. But other than the looks, not very much changes. Why? I don't change. Those who have come to Krishna consciousness have gone through drastic changes in their life compared to somebody regular living a material life, born a materialistic person and is going to die the same materialistic person, is not going to have so much excitement in their life. But those who come to Krishna consciousness, they are the exception that their life changes. But still, as a person, they still don't change. Habits may change, values may change. The habits of a Krishna conscious person will change. When you come to Krishna consciousness, your habits will change. Your behavior will change. Your what you prefer, your preferences will change. I don't prefer to eat meat anymore. I don't prefer seafood anymore. I don't prefer eggs anymore. So these are all externals. Really, did I change? No, I am the same person. These are habits, preferences, and lifestyle. But as a person, I am the same. So what is constant? The Atma is constant. The living being has spiritual form. This is the point, main point that Srila Prabhupada is trying to drive here. The living being has a spiritual form beyond this gross material and subtle psychic existence. The living being has a spiritual form which is beyond this, what we can see and what we can feel. Beyond this, there is a spiritual form that living being has, same as Krishna, because we are part and parcel of him. So we have on the soul level, but we don't feel that. That's why the devotional practice is known as awakening. Awakening my real self. Jiva jago, jiva jago. Wake up, sleeping soul. None of the people you are trying to say this to are really sleeping. But spiritually, they are sleeping. They are not externally sleeping, but they are internally sleeping. Why they are internally sleeping is because they are considering themselves to be the body. They are not realizing that they have a spiritual form beyond this gross material and subtle psychic existence. The gross body and the psychic functions cease to act soon as the living being leaves his visible gross body. The gross body and psychic functions cease to act as soon as living being leaves the visible body, visible gross body. In fact, we say that the living being has gone away because he is unseen and unheard. The person is gone away. Even when the gross body is not acting, when the living being is in sound sleep, we know that within this body. So the analogy here is a dead person and a sleeping person is kind of similar, but not really, because the sleeping person is breathing. Because the person is breathing, he is considered to be sleeping, not gone to sleep forever. So the living being passing away from the body does not mean that there is no existence of the living soul. It is there. Otherwise, how can he repeat his births again and again? We have so many cases of reincarnation, Punarjan, becoming more and more popular now because the world is becoming so small, because all the information is passed on. So people are taking birth again and remembering their previous birth beyond a shadow of doubt and connecting all the dots and being able to relate everything from the previous birth into the next. Who is this person? It is the soul, because nothing else is constant here. In conclusion, the conclusion is that Lord is eternally existent in his transcendental form, which is neither gross nor subtle like that of a living being. We have a gross body. A living being has a gross body and a subtle body. The Supreme Lord doesn't. If we look at the structure, a soul surrounded by the subtle body surrounded by the gross body, and gross body then has all these senses that want gratification. Then it has objects of senses and working senses and all of that. Leaving the middle part, soul alone, everything else is material. So just like we have one portion that is spiritual, that is soul, and everything else is material, the Supreme Lord, everything is spiritual. His subtle body, spiritual. Gross body, spiritual. It's not gross because it's spiritual. His senses, the objects, everything is spiritual. His body is never compared to gross and subtle bodies of the living being, such as the conception of God's body is imaginary. The living being has his eternal spiritual form, which is conditioned only by his material contamination. The living being, one more time, this is the final sentence. The living being has his eternal spiritual form, which is conditioned only by his material contamination. This matter is actually further explained in the 4th canto by Srila Prabhupada. This is a chapter, this is pastime of Dhruva Maharaj, and when Dhruva Maharaj is going back to Godhead. Dhruva Maharaj going back to Godhead, in 4th canto, 12th chapter, 18th verse, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains. An important word in this verse is Mukta Linga. Mukta means liberated. Linga means the subtle body. We want to be liberated from the subtle body. That's Mukta Linga. When a man dies, he quits his gross body, but the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and false ego, carries him to the new body. But while existing in the present body, the same subtle body carries him to the next stage of life, to another, for example, from childhood to boyhood. Childhood to boyhood to youth to old age, body is changing. But something is constant. What is constant? My subtle body is constant. Gross body is changing. So, when the soul passes on from this gross material body to the next body, the whole subtle body goes with it, or actually says carries it. The subtle body carries the soul. This is a direct quote. The mental condition of a baby is different from that of a boy. Mental condition of a boy is different from a young man, and a mental condition of a young man is different from an old man. So at death, the process of changing bodies takes place due to subtle body. Dehino asminyatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara. Kaumaram yavanam jara, but subtle body is constant. Tatha dehantar praptir. The subtle body still goes into the next body. So at death, the process of changing bodies takes place due to the subtle body. Mind, intelligence, and false ego carry the soul from one gross body to another. This is called transmigration of the soul. The transmigration of the soul. But there is another stage. When one becomes liberated even from the subtle body, now is the real liberation. So far, our bodies, we have taken so many births. We have left so many bodies. But the subtle body we have always carried into the next body, and we are here now with that subtle body. So this is called the transmigration of the soul. But there is another stage. Now Srila Prabhupada is going to tell the next matter. When one becomes liberated even from the subtle body, we have to, Muktalinga means being liberated from the subtle body. No mind, no intelligence, no false ego. Everything is got to go. At that time, the living entity is competent and fully prepared to be transferred to the transcendental or spiritual world.
There's no intelligence there. Interesting.
Not the intelligence that the subtle body that we are carrying here. No. Don't think of that in that sense. The Atma, the soul, is complete in itself. It's in Suptavastha, sleeping condition. That's why we say Jeev Jago, awakening the soul. Many other religions also talk about awakening the soul. So, when the soul is awakened, the soul is already Satchit Anand, right? It doesn't need your mind and intelligence from here. The soul has its own Satchitanand qualities, but those qualities are Suptavastha. We are not feeling that. Are we feeling that we are Sat? Are we feeling that we are Chit? Are we feeling that we are Anand? No. We are not feeling any of that. Maybe we are feeling opposite of that. But those are not the qualities of the soul. The qualities of the soul are Satchit Ananda. So, for one thing, the soul is sleeping stage, and the other thing is then covered with the material subtle body. Subtle body, as subtle as it is, still is material. And then that subtle body is covered with the gross body. And at death, we leave the gross body, take the subtle body, and go to the next body. Now, that is transmigration. But what is liberation or going to the spiritual world? We will not be able to take our material subtle body with us to the spiritual world. We're going to have to leave that behind. So that liberation is liberating ourselves from that subtle body that Dhruva Maharaj has been able to accomplish. In the final paragraph, the description of bodily symptoms of Dhruva Maharaj makes it apparent that he became perfectly fit to be transferred to the spiritual world. One can experience the distinction between subtle and gross bodies even daily. Even daily, we can make a distinction between subtle and gross body. What is the distinction? If I say, close your eyes and see the Statue of Liberty. Can you see? You can.
Yes.
But your eyes were closed.
The mind.
We can see with the mind. So, one can experience the distinction between the subtle and gross body even daily. In dream, one's gross body is laying on the bed, while the subtle body carries the soul, the living entity, into another atmosphere. But because the gross body has to be continued, the subtle body comes back and settles in the present gross body. When the state of dreaming is finished, the subtle body and the soul will come back into the gross body and continue as if nothing happened. But therefore, one has to become free from the subtle body also. This is freedom known as Muktalinga. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
You know that Zoom there? The Zoom line? Can put this song there?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, coming to the reincarnation, some of the people, if they say that I don't believe in reincarnation, as we said, this is it's all the body, and then once finishes, everything goes. How can we counterattack that and explain it?
Well, there are many scientific studies of body, soul, and subtle body being separate. Scientifically, there are studies. One is called out of body experience, OBE, out of body experience. Many people have this out of body experience, especially when they're given a long anesthesia. When they're given a long anesthesia and so many doctors are operating on their body, many people have come back to say that, yes, I was watching you. I was watching you perform this operation on my body. So in order to even confirm that further, in the operation theater, they put something up like over there that nobody can see. And they ask the patient, by the way, if you have an out-of-body experience, go up there and read what we have written on that page and tell us correctly. Now, I'm not saying everybody is having the out-of-body experience. Some people do, exceptions. And they have been able to go and read what's written on there and confirm, yes, I had the out-of-body experience. I went up there and I read, this is what is written on there.
Near-death
So
experience.
then there is the near-death experience. And now there are reincarnation stories beyond shadow of doubt are coming. This young boy born in America knew at 5 years of age, he knew everything about the aircrafts. That you would take 20 years to study to learn every aspect and perfect terminology of every piece of the aircraft. The 5-year-old knew. It was later revealed that he was in the First World War. He was a pilot in the US Air Force. And he knew exactly how he died and what plane he was riding and all of that. And they took him to meet his sister. He took birth again after 60 years of disappearance. He was born, he died, 60 years, nothing. God knows where he was. And then after 60 years, he takes birth again. But his real sister, Grace, 96 years old, still alive. And he was able to go and relate to her as a sister, a 5-year-old, and told her all the things about the childhood and all that. There was another person from the First World War or the Second World War, took birth again and had when he was shot in the battlefield, right in the chest, in the middle of the chest, shot, and he remembered that. And now in his next life, he actually has a scar right where he was shot in the previous life. And they were able to confirm that. That yes, he told the name, where in the battle, where at which place, on which day he was shot and where he was shot, and they checked the records, it's all there. And he has a scar in the same place in the next life. Mataji wants to say something.
I was just wondering, because this is so interesting, I've never had it described to me so clearly as you have done in your teaching. I just want to know, because right now I'm ISKCON, Krishna consciousness, beginner, 2 years.
Beginner.
And it's getting more and more very, lot of knowledge and a lot of way that, show me how to really live a full life.
Yes.
Getting close. So my question is there any, like we go and then we might be fortunate enough to come back as a human person.
Yes.
Is there any way to sort of like, not guarantee, but to practice now that, maybe I'll be born again into the Krishna family? Or is it not? I don't know where I'm going to go, but when I come back, would I be on the path again?
It is automatic. So the question is that if, in other words, your question is that I'm joining Krishna consciousness at later stage of my life, and whatever progress I make in this life, would that progress go with me? Would I get a chance to start from there in the next life? That is absolutely guaranteed by the Supreme Lord in the Bhagavad Gita, that whatever advancement you would make in your spiritual life, in this life, you will continue from there into the next life. Also, what is your desire is what counts. If your desire at the end of the time is to enjoy senses, then you would be given the facility to enjoy the senses in whatever way, shape or form you want. But if your desire at the end was to become a Krishna devotee, then definitely you will be given a chance. It's absolutely firmly guaranteed by Krishna and all the sadhus and all the shastra. That is completely confirmed.
Thank you.
Jai Govinda.
Yeah.
Jai Govinda Prabhu.
I don't know whether we can hear.
Yeah, thank you, Akrura Prabhu.
Haribol.
I just want to express my gratitude for your brilliant class. It was done so systematically and so clear, very easy to follow, and very understandable.
Thank you, Prabhu.
They said that if someone can take a very deep philosophical, complex philosophical idea and present it so a 5-year-old can understand it, then he really has a grasp of the subject matter. That's what they said about Srila Prabhupada, because he could take the most advanced spiritual subject matter and explain it so simply. And to tell you quite frankly, that's how I felt your class went today.
Wow,
And
that's a big compliment.
regarding the reincarnation examples, etc., Ian Stevenson is one of the famous ones, psychiatrist. 1966, he wrote his first book on 20 examples of reincarnation. And of course there are so many since, of course, examples of this, quite verifiable. But in the, let's say, in the Orthodox Christian tradition, they don't accept anything that he has to say or anything about reincarnation. The conservative Christian groups. Anyway, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions?
Hare Krishna, pranams. Thank you so much for your class.
Mother Saraswati.
Just wanted to say, you've made a very good description and distinction between the material and gross body and the spiritual body. But at the same time, the Vaishnavas and our spiritual master, even though with our eyes we can see them, so-called in the material body, still they're not. Their body is not material. Even while we think that we're seeing a material body, it's not a material body. They are in their spiritual body, because with the fire of devotional service, that material has already been converted into spiritual. Is that correct?
Yes, Mataji. They are, the understanding is that they show that it is a material body, but it is a spiritual body. Like in the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna was hit by arrows several times, and he was bleeding profusely as if he had a material body. But it was his leela to show the material body. And also before he leaves the body, it is explained that he accepts a material body temporarily and then leaves the material body. So he performs the leela of leaving the body. Spiritual body cannot be left. So he accepts a material body temporarily and then performs a leela to leave the material body at the place called the Prabhasa Kshetra in Gujarat, India. So the acharyas' bodies are spiritual, but they look just material. They perform just like material bodies because they are, that is their leela that they are performing. Any other question or comment?
Coming to the reincarnation, can't you say that some people are born with physically handicapped, and whereas some people are born nicely? So there has to be some reason.
Yes.
That's why 8.6 in Bhagavad Gita says at the time of death, whatever desire you have, this thing, based on the karma, you get the next body. I think that also helps to reinstate that our reincarnation is correct, what we read in Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
Thank you.
The subtle body is carrying the whole personality of the person. Like a baby is born in your family, and soon enough you start to see that the baby has his own personality. He's not mimicking his dad, he's not mimicking his mom, he's not mimicking anybody. Has his own personality. It's coming from the previous birth. It's just different.
And also we say that they may not get a human body.
Yeah.
If you want to fly, they'll get a bird. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Yes. Lucian Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. I just, because it was a very nice class, and it's a complex subject, and I'm glad you mentioned about the visual kind of understanding about the clouds and the sky.
Yes.
How we perceive.
Yeah.
And I hope you have the patience because I know it's complex. I'll try to express the way I see it as an artist, because in some ways, in art there is called atmospheric perspective, and whatever recedes farther become more blue, basically. and the sky is blue.
Yeah.
And see, which I don't know 100%, but I assume that the reflection of the light of the particles become blue, and there's more, intense. That's why it become more intense blue. But basically, the blue, the most intense blue is black. So black is actually blue, so which is Krishna, which is everything.
Yes.
And which makes all the colors are black. Which, from the visual point of view, it makes sense. But also, Krishna has 6 opulences, which and then that's more complicated, but I will express anyway, which is power, strength, and knowledge. Is
Yeah.
the 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue.
Yeah.
And if you mix those 3 colors, you get 3 complementary colors, which is orange, green, and purple.
Yeah.
And so, which is the quality of beauty, fame, and austerity. So, those qualities, and then, of course, if you mix all of the colors, it's black, and it's Krishna, because everything. But you also mentioned today that Krishna